I'm riding around my city life.
Yeah.
Said I'm drinking
Yo.
I'm feeling nice. Rolling up and I'm feeling right. Because I'm rolling around the city life. I said I'm rolling around the city like it's flashing lights, first stars I'm high and I shine so bright. I said, whip it fast, boy. You think you hyping the party? Nah. I'm with some baddies and we feeling fly. We posting up and we flipping up. Now only they know how I feel inside. We on a level and you hoes need to drop down the size. Now, baby, you can see it in my eyes. My God, oh God, it's going down tonight. These chicks mad at who they feel inside. Cause I can't win no sweating, yeah, that ain't no lie. I said I'm riding around my city like. I said I'm drinking up and I'm getting nice. I said roll it up and I'm feeling right. Because I'm rolling around the sexy life.
So if you're watching and you're
I'm
here,
riding around my city like. I said I'm drinking up and I'm feeling nice. Roll it up and I'm feeling right. Because I'm rolling around the sexy life.
So go ahead, y'all. If you're in, go ahead and drop a one.
Yeah, if you're here, what's up? You know, welcome to the circle again. Talk to Tingz. You know, episode 11. You know what I mean? We do this every week. You can check after the video's done. You can go on YouTube and check it out. You know what I'm saying? The circle team right here. If you want to know, so to my left, we got Orla Hughes, the Irish wildflower. Me, myself, you know, Big J Edwards. Got Lisa Thompson in the house. Got TK. And of course, everybody knows Dougie. And a special guest. Got over here.
I have 3G here.
Oh, there we go.
What's up? We're back.
Shit.
We're back.
Technical
The whole
difficulties.
got struck by lightning.
Look how it's showing.
Yeah. Is it glitchy? It should be better now. Is it glitchy?
Is it still glitchy?
Okay. Yeah.
The Wi-Fi is not good.
No.
Too much porn.
Hold on, we got some technical difficulties here.
But I see 3 viewers, so who's here? Is that 3 or 4? What's up? If you're here, say hey. We see some comments. Thank you. Who's with us now?
Looks like snow.
Who's commenting right now? Can anybody see?
Lisa Thompson in the house.
Okay, so who's commenting with us now? We want to shout out our commenters. Thank you so much for joining us. This is episode number 11. And tonight we are going to, you know, as we usually do, respond to the topics that you all say you want to elaborate on. So, did we get through our intros? We're good.
Yeah, we did the intro. So right now we're gonna start off.
How do I mute it?
Come on, Dougie.
Yeah. Yep, you're good.
Sorry.
So, our first topic that started, I think this was earlier.
Yeah, it was a post about a doll.
Oh, look, we got
and the opposite.
What's up, Benny? Can we just shout out some people who are here? What's up, Kimberly? What's up, Jay? Tasha, Danielle, Lily,
Yeah.
Joe Hoskins. What's up?
Danielle, what's up?
Run, go tag your people, then I'm bring them in.
TV or something.
Why?
But you think that's what's killing it?
It's lagging.
But it's good to see the comments. What's up,
Julie?
Julie? Shout out to the admins that are not here tonight. So shout out to
Yeah,
Autumn,
it's
Jason,
lagging
and
too
Julie. And thank you guys for tuning in.
Shout out to my mother.
Man.
Thank God.
So,
I know.
we are talking tonight.
Because I'm not connected to the network. I can see how it's coming out.
Okay. All right. So we're gonna just try to move forward.
Bear with us with the network. Sorry, you know it's a bit slow tonight.
How's everybody loving this new weather?
Yeah, the weather's
this lovely
killing
weather.
it right now.
OMG.
I fucking love it.
You know what? I prefer snow to no snow when it's cold, because at least in the snow the children can go play.
Yeah.
Versus it's freezing and you're just looking at everybody's face in the house.
Yeah.
So speaking of kids, this brings us to our first topic.
Yeah. So the topic in I don't know who posted it, but it was a picture of a black girl playing with a white dog. And what is is that okay? Are you supposed to do that? Because you know what? Let me start off with this. I remember there was a video, and they showed a black doll and a white doll, and they brought black kids and white kids, and they asked them which doll is the bad doll.
Right.
Well, I remember that.
I saw that.
That was heartbreaking.
All the kids pointed to the black doll
As the bad doll.
as the bad doll.
That's heartbreaking.
So
Including the black kids, if I'm
including the black
not
kids,
incorrect.
including the black kids.
So we had
if,
conditioning going on.
If a white child or anything that's not black has a black doll, how do they view it?
How do they view it?
Yeah.
So the question I think in the post was, is it okay to give the opposite race doll to your child, and the effects that it would have on the child, and would you do it? So I didn't get to read through all the comments. What was the general climate like from the commenters?
A lot of people said just give the kid the doll that they want.
Yeah.
Whatever they say they want?
Yeah.
Do you feel that that's problematic if your children are of one race and are idealizing a doll of another race, and by giving in, do you feel like when you give in, if the child identifies they want a doll that doesn't resemble them, do you feel like a conversation has to be had? Because the way I'm asking it is, I always try to put myself in the other person's shoes. If I was a white parent with a white child and my daughter favored black dolls, I would have to have a dialogue with her. Not that I wouldn't give it to her, but I'd say to her, you do understand that by having a preference for this type of doll, you're going to have to answer. The people are going to ask you questions. It's going to be different.
Yeah.
And why do you love that doll? Okay, that's good, but you're going to have to understand. You have to start preparing your daughter for the reality of what comes with favoring a representation of.
Yeah, you got to give them really, really like Orla, your cousin?
Yeah, my little niece, yeah.
So her niece plays with the black doll. Show them the picture. Bring up the picture on your phone. We're going to show you guys a picture. This is Orla's niece. No, just go up to the camera. It's fine.
Okay.
I gotta find it.
Give us 1 second. And her, she plays with the black doll. But what's wrong? Is that wrong?
What do you guys
Meanwhile, she's.
I don't know why, but my parents had one in our house growing up. I don't know why they got it, but they had it, and it was maybe stood that tall. Her name was Jessica. Maybe my older sisters played with it. I don't know, but they were kind of old for dolls at that point. But we had one.
Yeah.
And then when Cabbage Patch dolls came out, they all bought us Cabbage Patch dolls, and they got me a boy one.
So show them the pic. This is
And it
Orla's
was
niece.
a
If
mixed
you can
kid.
see it, she's playing with the black doll.
2 black dogs.
Two of them, and that's what she wants. So who are we to say anything, really?
Because then if you start saying no, you got to tell the child why she can't have that dolly. Then you got to start having a race discussion with her anyway.
Yeah.
So do you give her what she wants or not?
Like, do they want it because they're idolizing that doll? Do they want to be like that?
Tasha Pearson says, my girls have black dolls and Barbies. 80s and 90s, if their class is Black Indian, kids will know. My kids know they. Tasha, come finish the comment.
She's saying that 80 to 90% of their class is Black or Indian,
It's true.
so they already know about it, and that's
No,
what they're familiar with.
it's true.
It's true,
Honestly,
especially in
based
Brampton.
on it, and when you really consider that you're probably not the one having the first conversation about race with your kids. Like, that conversation probably isn't even verbal when they just walk into daycare.
Hold on, guys. We need to disconnect some stuff off of Wi-Fi because this is like laggy.
I'm not on Wi-Fi. I'm not on
It's
Wi-Fi.
lagging?
Yeah. Tell her to
Oh,
stop
it's so
downloading.
laggy.
Shout out to Anamiki. Shout out to Block Hugga and SP Brian.
Why is it
Thanks
so
for coming
blurry
through.
and laggy?
Yo, just
Jay
connect
said.
when we're-
Yeah, it's the connection. We got a bad connection tonight.
Jay,
No,
you need better internet.
Disconnect stuff off of it. It'll get better.
But what's on it right now?
What's
That's
on it right now
really-
besides my phone, your phone?
No,
I'm
my
not on
phone's
it.
not on.
I'm not on it.
I'm on it. That's on it.
The tubs on it.
Is it possible it's just the weather?
Just the weather, man.
I was at Walmart and there was a power outage and one piece of record nearly broke out. It was like straight riot, and I was like, these people are not prepared for disaster at all.
Whoever's on the Wi-Fi don't want to warn.
No, it's the weather. The weather's fuck. Sorry, people. The weather's fucking up with the network.
Yo, there's a blizzard over here.
Forgot to say. If you want your comments to be read out,
Yeah.
Speak up.
if you want to be heard, send me a no longer than 60-second voice note.
Yep.
This week we will not be playing the 2-part voice notes. I'm sorry, not doing it.
Not today.
Not this week.
Yeah, and
All
eventually,
right.
people, I'm gonna get a number that you can call in, and eventually, you just call in and we just do it like that.
I can see the free
So my
Oh,
name is
man,
Lisa
yeah,
Thompson.
yeah.
If you want to send a voice note so that we can talk about your contribution to this topic, go ahead, send it in, and we'll get to you before we move to the
Let's do
next
something.
topic.
Okay,
And
hold
what
on.
do you
We're talking
guys think
about
about this? Because, I mean, right now, y'all, don't forget to participate same way. Connection issues on the live. Let's not forget on the replay when everybody's connection is proper. We still want to be able to get your feedback. So stick with us and bear with us through it, So, what were you saying?
No, we're talking about the doll stuff, but I was like, me growing up, there wasn't even no black dolls. Were there? I don't know if there was. So I only saw the white dolls. You know what I mean? And I didn't have an issue with it because that's what everybody had. So I didn't even see a color really. It's just not a doll, but like all the wrestling figures, whatever.
They had black
Action
and
figures?
tanned wrestling figures.
Yeah,
Black
they
G.I.
did.
Joe.
But I didn't see a color when I was a youth. I didn't see a color.
Yeah,
I didn't see one at all, man. Like
Mickey Austin, what's up?
you know what I mean? I'm playing with.
Easy.
I was just playing with the action figures, whatever, and that's my boy.
You didn't, but I did.
I had the Macho Man and the British Bulldogs. Yo, I brought that everywhere. And those are my homeboys.
My neighborhood had a small, multicultural pocket, but for the most part, it was an East Coast Canadian and Portuguese, Italian neighborhood. The multicultural pocket, we stuck together, but we knew color difference because of that. You know what I mean? And there was the army base right there, so you had the little snot-nosed brats from the army base.
Brats,
Yeah.
So what area was that? Keel?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I know.
Moose with the comments. Moose said,
Voice note. We have
hey,
a voice note.
let me just quickly read. Moose.
Yeah,
Moose said hate is taught by parents to the kids. Let's
Let's
not forget that.
Yeah, and Blanco is right. Children don't see colors. You know what I mean? It's true.
It's true.
Yeah.
Lily had a comment on what's up, Cassandra.
Yeah, and what's up, Cassandra?
Tasha, shout out. She has a lot of
Nipple.
multicultural dolls.
Yeah, Cindy too.
So
Cindy said she has some black
We're actually
dolly.
gonna get to the voice note later.
All right. Okay, so guys, keep your comments coming. Thanks so much for rocking with us. What's up, Ivy? Holla.
Yeah.
So, what is the general consensus? So, what was everybody saying in the comments?
I
Was
don't
there
remember.
a lean?
I
Do you
don't
guys remember
remember.
if there was a lean towards no, or do you feel like everybody at
I
this
think,
point it's like it's 2017? Like, fuck.
I think most people, I was reading through it, most people were like, they were saying that, you should get the doll, the trick kid wants, right?
Give them what they want. Give them what they want because children are sincere in what they want, and then you can have that dialogue with them at a later time.
Right.
I feel like if it was to continue, like if Jessica wanted white dolls all the time, I might have to have a conversation with her, and I wouldn't be discouraging her from liking black dolls. I'd just be asking her what it is she loves about them, and I might say, hey, when you look at a black doll, what do you love about the black doll? Not why don't you love the black doll. I'd have her tell me what she likes about both. And I would try to have a conversation and identify if the reason she wants all black dolls is because of a self-hate issue. If it's not because of a self-hate issue, then I wouldn't discourage her.
Yeah.
And if I could see that it was a self-hate issue, I would never discourage her from liking the white dolls, but that's my job as a parent to go and now reestablish her sense of self, and loving herself. And that's where I think parents have to stop relying on TVO to raise their kids. Like, you have to have that conversation.
I'm tired of well, with the
No.
TV and whatever, we're from a generation where we went outside. You know what I mean? Like, when I was a youth and I get up, have 1-2 breakfast, you know what I mean? bam, out the door.
Upon your bike.
Out the
and then-
door.
Yeah.
And gone for miles and miles and miles and miles and miles.
Hours.
And you just have this sense of you know when to come back.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Well, you can't do that no more.
Times have changed.
Danielle said that she thinks that kids do see color, but they just don't understand it.
You're right. I understand why she said
No,
that.
man, it's taught.
I don't think
You
so.
know, I think
It's
they know that they're different, and I think this word "see color."
I think they see it like, okay,
yeah,
they,
like
they
you
obviously know that
you're different.
you're brown, you're white.
Hold on, look, look. So Munchie, 2 nice Hines. Wow, bro, you need to shorten your name. Munchie, 2 nice Hines says, children don't see colors, only as an adult. I'm guilty on this. I won't buy any other color for my daughter but black doll. And she tries to change her thought on this because children don't see colors. And when she's at school, she's playing with everyone, not just blacks. But she's saying it's hard because you want to, you know, she want to instill the culture into your child.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard.
I get that. I understand.
But if a white person bought their white child only white dolls, we would say they were racist. So why, if there's a black woman, I only buy my daughter all black dolls? Why am I not racist? So you have to play devil's advocate with it.
I think that they should have both.
That's gonna be the devil's advocate argument. Do you know what I'm saying? I think that when you look at a situation where, remember, we're talking about the privileged argument, right? The privileged argument doesn't know that. They're gonna say, well, if we're racist for doing it, then you're racist for doing it.
No, I think like if you're a black family, then obviously you should buy your kids majority of black dolls and throw in some white dolls in there too. Vice versa.
Makes sense.
Vice versa.
Hold on,
I remember being like in grade, I don't know, 1 or 2, where it's like you have to draw yourself,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
You're doing
yeah.
your little self-portrait. There was never a marker that really looked like me. You know what I mean? There was the one brown marker. Nobody ever wanted to use brown marker. It'd like go through the page and like
You're right.
make a hole. Nobody wanted to use a brown marker.
Said it made
And
a
then-
hole.
It did. And then like, what am I gonna use? What am I gonna use to color myself? They
Peach
had all
or
these, like,
beige.
I used to
Yeah.
always be
How do you think I felt when I draw a white person on a white piece of paper?
Oh,
I
man,
didn't
peach.
I didn't use the piece. I tried to use the white.
Oh, man,
Y'all always
peach.
had peach.
Peach.
So, like, when people want to say kids don't see, of course we see color. You know what I mean? I saw that. I couldn't articulate what it was, but I knew that.
You knew you were different.
I knew that my color
Couldn't even draw clouds
was
with that.
never really available, and it was something that I didn't really feel proud of because there was nothing to describe me. So I was like,
Really? So what am I gonna feel confident in? If even if even artistic expression doesn't represent me, so you're like, how am I supposed to express myself in a world where crayons don't? I get that. So I think we have some voice notes, guys.
Yeah,
Go
we got
ahead
a
and
voice
listen.
note. Hold on.
If your voice note doesn't get played right now, please don't hesitate to comment. If y'all notice, a lot of the discussion on these episodes happens the next day in the comments. So keep going.
I don't have my earbud. Hold on.
I know, I
Keep going
can't
with your
think
comments.
of when I was a kid, obviously I grew up in 2 different places, but I was only white kid.
Yeah, because you grew up in Africa for a little while.
Yeah, I went to school there. I was the only white kid, and not that I don't remember where there's
You're
a
making
difference,
worse
but
yourself.
I don't know. I was the only white kid there, and I was only non-Muslim too.
Yeah.
So I was
So you were like, you had a
double.
double.
We have a very interesting voice note.
Yeah?
I'm going to Bluetooth.
Yeah, send it to
or-
me. Send it to me.
All right, 1 second.
Hold on, Black
Hey,
Hugger.
Theo.
Black Hugger has a comment. We're gonna take it.
Theo.
I know Doug is going in on the chip.
So good.
I love potato chips, man.
Send it to
So
me.
good.
That's
Yeah.
So Orla was just real quick to, while we wait for the voice note to load, Orla has been on the side of where she was a double minority, religion-wise and visibly. When she was in Africa, she was not only just this standout white person, she was also the only non-Muslim. So, you know, you could relate to not having a lot. Like if your mom were to go to the store in Africa, could she find a lot of white dolls to represent you?
Probably, no, I don't think she could have, but I don't think, to be honest, I don't ever remember being like a niche or nothing. Like my parents just dressed me hard. Everyone else did, because at the end of the day, I'm in their culture. I'm in their.
So you immersed.
So my parents, yeah, they're very
Immersive.
Yeah, so I would have wore the saris and stuff. Even my own birthday party. I think I put a picture up on the circle for a go back. It was my own birthday where I had to wear.
I have to wear that stuff weekend.
Fantastic.
Okay, let's see what Black Powder has to say.
I like that one.
Hey Lisa, it's your boy Bob checking in. Danielle, I don't disagree with that children may see color, but I don't think they see it like adults see it. Whereas a person, they dress back. We might dress back, they don't dress back. When my son was in kindergarten, he had a white girlfriend, he has an Indian girlfriend. He didn't see it like we may see, like, oh my God, a black person, oh my God, a white person, oh my God, a brown person. Kids don't see colors in the way we see colors. And so my statement is they don't judge people based off their color, where adults do that. A lot of kids get their ideas from their parents or from adults.
Which is true, yeah. Very true, yeah. We pass it on down to our kids. You know what I mean? You gotta be careful what you do and what you say because they're watching.
Big time.
They're always watching.
Big time.
At all times, every minute, every day, every little facial expression you do, they're watching
reading it.
and they're reading
And
it.
they're thinking, right, are we gonna bubble wrap our kids?
No, you don't got a bubble wrap.
I don't know.
That's kind of what I feel like. Like I get that we want to encourage our kids to love themselves through positive self-reflection at every opportunity, right?
I love the color shirts, man.
Go ahead.
I support it, right? It's just I didn't grow up hating myself because I had a white Cabbage Patch named Frida with blonde hair and blue eyes. I still loved myself. You know, I didn't hate myself because I had my buddy or my, you know what I mean? Sister. Like kid sister or whatever. Like I had white dolls and I had black dolls. And the things, my black dolls were like cultural black dolls. They were like West Indian black dolls that you didn't really even play with.
Right.
They had like the little
ornaments.
culture. Right? Like I just admired them. Like they were always the queens that sat in a corner and all the other dolls could work around them because that one doll could never move, right?
Because it's so unique, so rare.
I fucking
So,
hate
but
all
there was
dolls.
a conversation that had to have been had
They're
for you to
creepy.
recognize that doll is very different from the rest.
But my aunt is a very, very in tune and very culturally active woman. So I don't know if that was a dialogue that she was creating for me.
Maybe
You know
by
what I
giving
mean?
you those dolls.
Yes, but the hierarchy that she's creating with my doll, that I can't play with this one doll because it's too important.
Right.
Like she's a woman that would do something.
But
like
then
that.
in a sense, you could
Because
say
she's
that
an
she did
extremist.
communicate to you. You know what I'm saying? Like you're saying that your self-love wasn't because there was no white dolls, but it could also be that sometimes as parents, we don't have to necessarily go in and say, or contributors in the upbringing, they don't always have to go in and say, you're supposed to favor the black dolls. They can establish that for you very subliminally.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
They can subliminally implant that in you.
She's a woman that would do that.
Mm-hmm.
She's a woman. So I don't know if she
That's
did
awesome.
that intentionally or if that's just. But I'm just saying, I don't think we have to be so concerned about our kids having, you know, a certain type of doll.
No, get them whatever they want. If they want the purple, the black, the beige, anything.
I have a daughter who doesn't even really favor
I have a
dolls
blow up
too
doll.
much.
Oh my goodness.
I'm
She'll
joking,
play
man.
with them to her sister's play with them. But she wants like legs. She wants airplanes and
And
cars
G.I. Joe.
and,
That was being probably.
you know, like the dolls are just to play with her sister.
That's it.
Yeah.
So it may not be, maybe that we may be imparting more social importance to it. Than
Oh, hold on. So D. Patterson here says it's okay for little boys to play with dolls. How many parents feel about that? Listen, when I say dolls, like I mean,
different.
when I say dolls, I mean like action figures. You know,
I had a boy Cabbage Patch
Wrestling
doll.
guy.
I had a Cabbage Patch when I was young.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
That was the boy. His name was Omar.
What if your little boy plays with a doll? Is that
My sisters played with dolls that I played with them. I was the boy doll and drove the car around. You
Yeah,
know,
but if your child is.
But then this becomes a gender conversation.
I was Ken.
And I really don't feel like the race conversation and the gender conversation can be had in the same space. I think it's a valid question, Lily. I see where you're going.
What's
with
another?
it. I think it then shifts it from, is this now a gender conversation? For the guys, there's G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
There's the Marvel guys.
That's
Like,
a
we
doll.
have a Black Panther now.
Black Panther.
We never
yeah.
had a black. Did we even have a Black Panther?
No.
So I used to play with G.I. Joe. And straight up, some of my GI Joes had a green face. Some of them had a white face. I probably had one wrestler. I had what the fuck is his name?
Hulk Hogan, Jake
No,
Snake.
man, the guy with the what's his name again?
Who? G.I. Joe?
Not G.I. Joe.
Mr. T.
Mr. T. I
T.
played with the Mr. T.
Oh, I love Mr. T.
But I had to wait until I was 12 to get the Mr. T because they never made black Mr. T. Was I 12 or 10?
What?
But yo, when I finally found the Mr. T, I incorporated him in with my Barbie and Ken. And I just made up little...
Yo, hold on, listen.
So, yeah, Junkyard Dog. Okay, yes, I had him too. But I think I got Junkyard Dog when I was 9.
Honestly,
I had to wait. But for the boys, the GI Joes were just as white for a long time.
Yo,
so I don't want to make it a gender.
Yo, any sex that I learned when I was a youth was from the Barbie and Ken doll. Trust me. Yo, you strip down Barbie naked. Yo, you bend her over.
Bend up, Barbie.
Barbie doll and the Ken doll, yo, Barbie will take the Barbie doll and rub it up in the breast and everything. Trust it.
But when you want Ben Barbie,
okay, yo, Moose, I got you. So right now we're gonna see what Moose has to say right here.
And then the
point of view, which is actually excellent. It takes a lot more energy to train a child.
Moose has to say right here. Hold on, Moose. Sorry, Moose, sorry.
So we need to turn down the show volume.
Hold on, Moose.
Thanks, Moose.
Your time to shine. Sorry.
So I'll read Mitzi's comment in the meantime.
I got it. Moose.
To add to Blocker's point of view, which is actually excellent.
Oh man.
To train it.
Sorry, Moose. The network now work with them sweater, yo. Go ahead. You hear what Missy says.
So Mitzi said it's also hard to find real black baby dolls. They sell them at every.
Moose, type it up.
Sell them at every store, so when kids go to stores, they see that. I think you mean they should, right? They should sell them at every store. Such a hard time.
Sell them at every store, so when kids go to stores, they see that.
So yeah, it is. Like the black baby dolls that they make, sometimes they don't even look like, they don't look appealing. They look like,
I've seen that.
They're not quite as attractive.
I used to order them, to be honest. I've ordered a couple over the last few years for Christmas, and I would have to order them through America.
Yes.
And then cross the border to go pick them up.
Yes.
So I would order 4 or 5 for Christmas presents, and then people would call me saying, "Can you get me them?" So across the border and buy all these dolls,
right?
Because you can't get them here. And I know for me personally, giving my Christmas presents,
you want it to be personal.
That's what they wanted. So they wanted the doll. When you go to Toys R Us, they only have like the white, but there's the blonde white doll and the brunette white doll.
You have options for the dolly when you're white.
When you're white, yes, you can have the, like, for instance, like my niece with the black dolls. I think she has that because her eyes are brown. Maybe that could be a preference. Maybe she just loves those dolls.
Right.
But I know
a lot of people are saying it's hard to find.
There's options for the white dolly.
No, the black dolly is hard to find.
Yeah, whereas the black dolly is hard to find, and when you find it, if it's ugly as fuck, you still gotta buy it because you want your kid to have one.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
as expensive as it is, I appreciate American Doll for this.
Big time.
Because you can
Up top
anybody.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? American Doll has so many options. She can get curly hair and wavy hair and straight hair and textured hair and you know what I mean? Like short hair and
different color of eye type too.
Tanned and you know what I mean? Like it's expensive, but
if you're trying to create something, a dialogue with your child around, it's okay. You don't have to look around in the world and see that nobody looks like you. You can find people that look like you and you're not abnormal. Then I think it's worth the spending.
Exactly.
And it's not so much to say black dolly over white dolly and black supremacy or white supremacy. I think it's just around making your children feel included. In a society where they're being taught inclusion for everything else, it's important for you to reinforce inclusion when it comes to your culture with your children. I don't encourage superiority teaching. I encourage inclusion teaching. And that being said, like, I understand the whole black diaspora dialogue is a whole nother thing. We've been through a lot. We've got a lot of trauma. But I think it's important to let the children decide what they like And if you see an imbalance, that's when you have a conversation.
Yeah.
And that's when you find out where that imbalance is coming from.
All right. So basically, you know what I mean? If you got a kid, give them any doll. It don't matter. But just through yourself, got to show them the right way. You know what I mean? In everything, not just race. In every way, every aspect, just show them the right way, because they will follow you and they will listen. As much as you think they don't, they're listening. All right. So next.
I'm gonna play one last voice note, yeah, and then we can move on. This one's from Steve. Now, Steve, I love you gone to bed, but you sent 2 parts and only one part is getting played. Womp mids. Womp mids. Sorry, my friend.
You know what? Maybe we could play it, like if you go up there right now, the Bluetooth is chippy.
Oh, okay.
It's because of the weather.
Sure. Let me try to play it for you.
I'm hiding all my crunchy.
And just put it by the mic. This is Steve right now. Sorry, we gotta be ghetto.
Okay, y'all. Improv.
Can I hear it?
By the blue thing.
And I'm white.
This?
Hey guys, this is Steve on the mic right now. So yeah, I used to play house growing up, and when I played house, the majority of the people on my block were black, Jamaican, and I guess because of the fact that I played house with them a majority of the time, maybe that's why I'm so much more attracted to them. Because I'm sorry for the white girls, but I love black pussy. I love white pussy too, but I love black pussy.
Jesus Christ.
I think I just wanted to get up on the mic and just say that.
Jesus Christ. I'm going to start screening your stuff like extra.
Like I play with Barbie dolls too, but only because my Ninja Turtles in it bitches.
Oh, yeah. All right.
Okay. Okay, Steve. So everybody knows. Sorry. Steve loves the black pussy. He love it. 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 He love it.
I'm sure the black pussy loves Steve.
Black pussy loves Steve too. All right, let's move on. So next, we're gonna get a little bit more serious here. In the news, I guess if you guys watch news, there was a shooting at a church in Texas, and this time it wasn't a black church. It was a white guy just going into a random church, and he shot up the whole place.
That's white on white crime.
White on white crime.
So was he
and
a terrorist or not?
Of course, our favorite term, mental illness.
No.
Now, is it mental illness, or is this just a man is a straight murderer? Because if that was a black man, that's just a murder thing.
Look at him, man. You can just tell. He's got mental illness.
But they said he had mental issues, but how did he get the gun?
Mental illness on anything.
But then is mental illness an excuse now?
It's
So
an
once
excuse.
somebody becomes once
Anybody that can do that is fucking mental.
okay, that may be so, but then what happens is a mental illness narrative now an excuse for accountability? Like,
I think
pardon
it's
for
happening a lot more. Like, this never used to happen until the Columbine. Ever since the Columbine shooting, and they put it on the media, people are competing to see who can kill more. That had nothing to do with ISIS or terrorism or anything like that. That's another Columbine kid.
I think it's just
It's the
somebody
media.
who, just is a loner and a nobody and wants to make a name for themselves.
Mhm.
Someone's not gonna, either the cops are gonna shoot you or you'll shoot yourself because you don't have the balls to go do jail time for it.
Mm-hmm.
You want your name in the paper and you want to be remembered
So you think
because
it's
you're a
death by
nobody.
suicide by cop?
Hold
I
on.
think it's
But why is it
loner.
happening so much now?
No, but right now, hold on.
Never used
Hold on. Dale said he was filled with hate, and he was trying to kill his aunt or something that was at the church. I didn't remember seeing that.
I don't remember seeing that either.
But listen, if a black guy went into a crowd of people and shot them up, they're just gonna say, "Oh, that's just another murderer." Boom, 25 years, life gone. They wouldn't even say mental. They wouldn't even bring up
So
mental health.
why is mental
why
illness not mentioned when it's a person of
not black?
Arab
Arab is terrorism. Black is murder. White is mental health.
Once you're Irish.
That's
Then you're a terrorist.
yeah,
now
or
we have
Irish.
to-
Irish is terrorist too. Yeah.
Irish people are terrorists? Really? I never heard that before.
Try to go through an airport security with me, I'll find out.
You know, when I went to Scotland airport, they had big ass machine guns.
Yeah.
I pictured Scotland airport, all the cops there. Like they had these like not so aggressive like uniforms, but they had these big machine guns.
I just think that it's convenient. It's so convenient. Every time that there's a certain type of crime that there's a quick defense of mental illness. Like, don't most adults have some type of mental health? Like, everything has a label these days. Don't we all have some kind of label that we fit into?
Mm-hmm.
How can we use it as a crutch, as a justification to do horrific things?
Well, regardless of the mental illness, if he even fucking lived, he'd be put in some kind of jail. I don't think he'd get off.
Yeah.
It depends, I think.
Like, they would never let that guy loose in the public on his own. There's no way.
What do you mean?
Like, if he lived and he killed all those people, he would never have freedom again. I don't believe he would. He might be put in a mental home, but he'd never walk the streets by himself. I don't believe that.
Based on his skin color, he may.
I don't think so.
I think he'd get out. Because it's so, you know what, I was just listening to a podcast recently with them. They were talking about stuff like this too. I forgot what it was up. But they were saying that, like, women, for instance, like PMS. So if I'm going through my period or whatever, and I go to do a crime or I do something, I can literally be like, I was PMS, and there can be temporary insanity, and I can go to court and prove all of this.
But that's a biological thing, though.
It is and it isn't, but that's an excuse. If I go out and if I go out and do a crime or I do something, I chose to go do that, not because it's my time of the month or because whatever. I made a decision and I chose to do it. And I just think a lot of people are using mental health for everything.
Yeah, and I think what the courts look at when you use a temporary insanity argument is they look at previous tendencies, and they look at, previous characteristics, and do you generally lash out in that particular way?
No, man.
Go ahead. It's hard to prove. I think that becomes a point that now you're asking 12 people, if it ever gets to trial, now you're asking the public or 12 people to evaluate you based on what they've been taught is their ideal, and what they've been taught are the stigmas around mental health. And I think that this is where you now are saying that where mental health is an excuse. I think that there's degrees. I think that when you get into the psychoses, and when you get into the bipolars, and when you get into the schizophrenias, there's not really as much to be expected in terms of personal management of behavior. But what happens is the narrative is not, this is a psychosis. The narrative, this is mental health. But then on the other side of the mental health spectrum, you have people saying that disorders are mental health. So mental health has become this big old cloud now, where you have personality disorders being packaged neatly as mental health. When you have a disorder, there's a certain amount of functionality and responsibility that you can take. And you have people who have personality disorders being grouped in with actually sick people.
I know, but
they're getting away with riding on the coattails of the people who are sick, and it's not fair.
But that's what,
because you have people who have disorders and are functioning and thriving with disorders, and then you have them, because the narrative in the media is any sort of disorder is mental health. This is where we have to get extremely definitive and concise with our definitions when we're using these terms.
I agree, and I think that, for instance, if you're very calculating, which most people can be. So, for instance, if I decide to go do a crime and I'm like, you know what, I don't really want to do jail time for this. This is how I'm going to punish it.
Exactly.
I can go do it and then claim mental health, but I just joined the church group and I told them that I was feeling vulnerable, and I wasn't. I was just manipulative.
You're manipulating a narrative that you're using a template. So somebody set a template for you. You're using
I'm going to go use it like, I'm going to go get a straight jacket and be in, dealing with this for 2 years, and I'm going to walk. Well, you know what? That person did something bad on me. I'll do 2 years for that. It's not a big deal.
Let's just basically stop merging actual mental illness with personality and functional disorders.
And people need to take,
they're not the same
yeah,
thing.
people need to take responsibility for their actions.
Big
You know,
time.
like it's like right now, if you
Big time.
You just need to stop using mental health.
Let's
murder.
start talking
Yeah.
about
Yo,
disorders. Let's start
If you
talking.
go kill somebody, a murder, that they should say, yo, this guy went into the church and committed murder. Multiple homicides. That's what they need to say in the news. Not like,
But here's
oh,
the
you know,
thing.
he had mental health. No.
Didn't they try to say he's a veteran? And
Who
this-
cares?
Wait, no, here's why it matters. This is why they're trying, there's relevance. Remember, they don't sprinkle shit in. Veterans have been known to have been suffering from PTSD. PTSD is a disorder.
Yes, but it's still murder.
But hear me, it's a disorder.
Disorder
If they started categorizing and defining disorders as disorders and psychoses as psychoses, then we wouldn't be allowing people with disorders to get away with sliding their shit under the psychosis umbrella and saying that's why I did it. Disorder doesn't mean you're actually in a psychosis. You can still function with a fucking disorder and you can still take accountability with a disorder. But what happens is society says mental illness, and there's this big, broad, nutty spectrum, and nobody's talking about all the different colors in the fucking rainbow of mental disorders. And then you have people who damn well should be held accountable saying, oh, but I wasn't mentally well. No, you weren't not mentally well. You were emotionally unwell. You have a personality disorder. Half of these people that are walking around with a mental illness flag don't have a mental illness. They don't have psychosis. They have a disorder.
Let's be real.
They have a dysfunction.
The mental illness crutch only serves a certain population to their advantage, and it's not anybody with my level of melatonin.
Unfortunately.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If there's gonna, somebody's gonna be killing they're gonna kill 100 people. Everybody's gonna take a dose of cyanide together because they're going to some promised land together. They're gonna say that the person who incited it had a mental illness. Not that he was a sick and sadistic bastard.
Mm-hmm.
He had a mental illness. But let me do something. And that would never work for me.
It won't work for
so,
you.
Okay, so if this is the narrative that, there's a disorder, then I'm gonna use that to my advantage.
But this is why
let's if society is going to say that this works and it only works for someone else, let's use it to our advantage.
But then and I hear you in twisting it, but then in that being said, Lisa, I think sorry guys,
I didn't finish my thought.
I'm sorry, honey. I just feel like Black people need to have this dialogue.
But hold on, I'm telling you how you're gonna twist it. If we're stuck in concrete jungles, and we know that we're already at a disadvantage in terms of our level of access to opportunities, in terms of our resources, in terms of our generational wealth and the wealth that we have in terms of us as a community moving forward, because other communities pool their money better than us. A lot of us grow up in social, social housing, right? Subsidized housing or market, whatever. And you're living in areas that I'm calling concrete jungles.
I know where you're going.
Right? So this could be considered a disorder as well.
It could be. The
behavior that you exhibit, selling drugs, prostituting, pimping, gambling, all of these things could be attributed to the fact that you grew up in this concrete jungle where you're
It's a form of PTSD.
disenfranchised.
It's a form of PTSD. It's a generational post-traumatic stress disorder.
So and someone else has a mental health issue. I have a mental health issue too.
Right.
I have PTSD from growing up in a concrete jungle.
Well, we have PTSD from 400 years of growing that. Listen, here's the thing.
If one nationality can have a mental health issue,
why can't anybody else?
Can.
Because we're not using it to our advantage.
But here's the thing. This is what I'm saying in a different. I'm saying the same thing as you from a different angle. You and I are moving in this direction. Same thought. This is why I'm saying that if we're going to have this conversation, we have to have this conversation as it relates to the different communities. The context was Muslim terrorist, Black man murderer, white man mental health. The Black community is going to, and the Muslim community. Mind you, we don't have as many representatives of that in terms of the production of this platform, but within the group, we talk about issues that mirror the group issues. Within the Black community, then we have to start having dialogues about how we articulate our need for resources with these things. Because what you just said to me is, And I totally wholeheartedly agree that Black people, whether you're Afro diaspora, Indo diaspora, Afro-American diaspora, we have been suffering from generations of trauma. PTSD is a thing. It's real. If it's recognized for the veterans, then it needs to be recognized for the people who've been through the whole transatlantic slave trade. That being said, you have people who are using disorders and trying to say that they're the same as psychoses.
Yeah,
we need to have a conversation about what a disorder is.
So
disorders
and psychoses, right? I want to flip this whole thing with mental health, right? So hold on, where Joe Hoskins says Black people need to be studied, and we do. Because let me tell you, listen. There's madam out there right now.
Well, we are being studied. What do you think this is?
Listen, there's madam out there. There's madam out there right now. I'm gonna tell you. They're at home sitting down, and they're the hitter. You know what I mean? They're the gunner.
Yeah.
There's no problem. You call them, say, yo, Mayo, it's going on right now. Boom. They go on the road. They go up to your house. Pop, and done.
Yeah.
And they'll do that for the whole year and go eat McDonald's and go,
And they don't have no insomnia.
So what is that though? Is that a disorder? That's just a regular day job for him, and it's nothing. But what is that?
But he's a
so what is that? Is that mental health?
Let's hear these voice notes. I think that's a product of a program.
What about the hitters? Are the hitters men sick?
But like you said, we're being studied. We are a fishbowl. In any experiment, you're gonna have some rats with comply, some rat where non-compliant, some rat where defect, some were divergent, some were abnegation, some, you know what I mean? Like, if you guys, like, this is the thing, is these are projects. That's the reason why they call it a fucking project. So, I mean, you're not going to have everybody react to trauma the same way. Some men can just shut all the fuck down. And they're just like a fucking program. Like, you tell them do this and they're gone. Then you have some people that they're so traumatized that they're just completely empathic and they have no logic whatsoever. So, I want to hear these voice notes, but I agree with you 100%. The Black population, in terms of how they relate to trauma, is being watched and observed. And I think that we're being used as a counter standard.
So these two comments that we have, one is from our admin, Julie Mango.
What up,
Julie Mango?
The other is from, thank you. The other is from Moose. And they're in relation to the discussion we were having about mental health not working as a defense for Black people when they commit crimes. So here's the first voice note.
They had the sniper that was going around shooting up the people in the States, and they couldn't find them. And then they found out it was two Black guys. I think it was a father and his stepson, but yet they were not mentally ill.
Oh, I remember
they were considered as murderers.
They were doing it from the trunk of their car.
Oh, the two DC
narrative.
That was John something. Hold on, here's Moose.
In order to claim mental illness, you need to have some lawyers that actually you can afford for your deep pockets. Look at how executed. Timothy McVeigh waited how many years? Just look at the whole entire context of the issue. Mental issue is a real thing, but it does not play the same way in courts.
Good comments.
It's true.
So in the court system is different depending on the situation, I guess.
Yeah.
For mental health.
But what happens if in the court system these people are found guilty and hung, but we never hear about it because the media narrative started off one way, and the media agenda was to position this one way. Actually happen. All that really ends up leaving a lasting impression is the media narrative. So how do we know that some of these people, after they've been used to push an agenda, aren't killed anyway? Like, we don't know that. But we won't hear that, because if the narrative started off as he's mentally unwell, look at the guy who they tried to say, the boy that raped the girl behind a dumpster with a date rape drug, and he barely got how many minutes of jail, and then you want to come and talk about, who is it, Nelly? somebody else. But when the narrative starts out one way, even if the outcome is different, how likely are we to hear about that?
We don't.
You know what I'm saying? Because the narrative was put that way for a reason.
Yeah, because like I work in a pub and we also have CB24 on, and I find like weeks later, I'm like, oh, whatever happened to that story, and then I'll Google it.
So Cassandra, big up Cassandra. Thank you, for sharing your story here. But her father had schizophrenia, and he was convicted for murder. They didn't even bring up the mental illness. They just said murder.
Wow.
So, like Moose said, it's the courts.
It's the system.
It comes down to the system.
It's a system and it's system's agenda. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Is there any more?
I don't know. I think when it comes to a lot of these gun crimes, I think the lack of control on guns is the main issue. Like I said the other day, to the admin team that in Scotland and that called Dunkley, and there was a shoot up in a school, and they didn't be like, oh, the person had mental health or this ABCD. It was guns gone. There's no guns. The guns were taken, gone. There's a stricter gun laws, even for farmers and hunters who realize certain guns, whatever. And there's never been a shoot up in a school or church or anything from it. So I think that they need to make tighter gun laws in America. Because who needs a machine gun? Nobody. Nobody needs a gun like that unless you're going to war.
With all the
but some people do. Some people have it for a hobby. Like I know people with them.
Yeah, but why you don't actually need that?
Why have a butterfly knife? Some people collect them.
It's for fish or for hunting or whatever. I don't really know. But what I'm saying is guns like that.
I don't have any of those things, but like I know people that have those machine guns here in Canada, like here in Brampton. I know a guy that has a shooting range in his own backyard in Caledon, and he has that guy has enough guns to start a war.
But what I'm saying is you don't actually need that.
He doesn't have them because he needs it.
Yeah.
It's a hobby.
Right.
It can be a hobby, but in America, we're all treated like you're happy.
It's a part of their culture.
Yeah.
But it's not so common.
Like I know you can get guns on anywhere, but I think they need to make that a tighter thing, or make bullets $6 a bullet or something.
They are.
The price is so deeply a part of their culture.
The price.
Well, America was built on taking, and taking with power.
It's not really.
And taking with excessive force. So there's that's when you start to associate patriotism with
Growing up, there's at least 6 or 7 guns in my house. Like shotguns, 30-30s, 20-20s. I had a pellet gun.
Well, you know something? When I moved down to the south, when my dad bought his house in Atlanta, it was you couldn't sign a deed from the bank without in certain counties without identifying how much arms you had, because in certain counties there is no security. You're your own security, and when you buy a home, on your deed is along with the registration of arms you have. So I had to learn how to use certain arms just to get for his house to be insured, because everybody in the home had to know how to use arms.
Lord have mercy.
You know what I'm saying? And this is in certain counties in Georgia. So we had, in order for him to get his deed, we had to go through a certain amount of training with arms. Just based on the county we wanted to live in. And that's just embedded culture.
If you go to Nova Scotia, everybody has a gun in their house.
Everybody has a gun in Toronto.
Yeah, Toronto. Remember black? No, you want to say that.
These are air guns. We have shotguns.
There's a lot of guns in Toronto. You'd be surprised, man.
Shotguns. Assault rifles.
I think we have voice notes, guys.
Everybody has an assault rifle.
I think we got some voice notes, and then we got
Lee, this one's for you. This one's for you, Lee.
Okay, so I think we're gonna move on to the other topics here. So
okay,
guys,
whoa.
Before we do go, that's what I'm talking about, meat milk. That's what I know was the little rapist wife would drug up the girl and drag her behind one ditch. All of a sudden, he got all these psychological disorder. He's got all these passes, and then you have a system where a man is put in for 2 to 4 on technical. Don't get me started on fucking technical.
So Brock Turner rapist.
Technical
6 months in jail, Series 3. Meek Mill, parole violation. 2 to 4 years in prison.
That's what it was, Lisa. Yeah. My girl.
Are they from the same state?
Thank you.
I didn't matter.
It's a miscarriage of justice. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter
It's
where
still
they're from.
disproportionate.
No, I get that,
No,
but
they're
every
not.
state has different laws though.
No, but these are federal charges.
I heard
That's
that.
right,
charges.
No, I heard that Meek Mill's the
I don't know
judge
what I'm
asked
talking
him
about.
to do a shout out.
Well,
And
what
he didn't
happened?
do it,
No, it
then
went
they
back to
held
high
it
school. It went back to high school days. She was into him a certain way. He wasn't into her a certain way. She went. Yes, this is some information because okay, guys, listen to thought crimes. I love thought crimes.
So you didn't recognize the judge?
No, it's not that. It went back to circles where she was seeing his come up and wanted a certain amount of recognition. He wasn't about that. And then it came to the point where she was in a position of leverage over him. The comment to me with Meek Mill's situation that really brought, that's you, that really raised a red flag to me. She said, I almost feel as though you're thumbing your nose at me. She never said, I feel as though you're thumbing your nose at the system. She said, I feel as though you're thumbing your nose at me. And that to me is personal. When you have somebody who's contributing a certain amount to the community, they're doing a lot for the community, and you have them on a technical violation of riding a motorbike when there's how much of other people riding a motorbike there and none of them were brought up on anything.
I think,
I don't know. I feel like that's a bit biased. And then when you see this little Philadelphia boy whose family is deeply tied in the judicial system, I hear Moose on his comments about it all depends on how deep your pockets are.
It does.
I really do.
I think so.
I really feel like
Although
Moose is hitting this on the head.
But Meek does have a lot of money. That's just a personal.
He has the money, but
against him.
deep pockets isn't about money, my girl.
Yeah.
Deep pockets is about family name
Who you know.
and how many degrees you are in.
Same that guy from Woodbridge.
Deep pockets is just about who you're in, who you know.
That guy from Vaughan or something from back to his.
Oh, the one who killed off all the whole family on Christmas time?
Yeah. Him. He's out.
But his family is in some
his family
time
donated
construction.
Yeah, but his family are building a hospital for free.
Remember the guy that beheaded somebody on the bus?
Oh yeah, the one that death.
Yeah, Shamari said that earlier.
He's out.
He's out.
Yeah.
He's already out?
Yeah, Shamari said that earlier. The guy who cut the guy's head off.
Suicide by cop.
And tried to eat the head.
No, the Asian guy that cut off the guy's head in the bus.
That's the same one. You said Filipino youth.
Yeah.
Isn't that Filipino?
He's not dead. He's not dead. He's out.
He got out of jail.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. So it's not
That's a mental
depth of pockets is not necessarily always about your money.
Yeah,
It's about your connections, and it's about who you know and what your connections can do for you. I guarantee you right now, if I decided to build a hospital to absolve the crimes of somebody I knew personally, I don't know if I'd be getting off that easy. I really don't know. I could do the same thing. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, we have schools named after Jean Augustine, but we don't really see that much of her in, why when Black History Month come up, why don't we see Jean Augustine as the first honorable lady? Like, I mean, you got a school named after you, got a Nelson Mandela school, you got a Harold Brown, you got all these things that give you a semblance of recognition, but are we really getting off where it matters? I know right now if I do a 25-year bid, my kids are orphans. This guy is not doing the bid. Because someone in his family bought a hospital.
No,
you know how much
I
of Brampton
that.
Civic is owned by people's wing here is bought by people. You know, I could fucking adopt a road and have a piece of a road named off of me. But is it really going to the depth of pockets? Doesn't always mean. It depends on your impact, and I think that goes back to old blood. Straight up, I don't think me adopting a piece of road on Mississauga Road is going to buy my kids out of any bullshit they do.
No,
straight up.
I don't think so either.
But if I came from old money, and I came from old reputation,
that'd be different.
And I'm at least 25 degrees in,
You'd be like, oh,
it's a different story.
Their grandparents were lovely.
And here's the thing, I want to say this doesn't just go with race. When I was living in Atlanta, I saw what sorority life was like. Okay, and there's a lot of black sororities, and let me tell you about that sorority life. It is no different than Freemasonry or Eastern Stars. It's no different.
Oh, they're the same. They're one and the same.
Okay, can I tell you that I know people that have jobs that don't qualify for jobs, but because when they say yep at that interview, or they shake that hand a certain way, they make sure that even when you're not qualified, they qualify you.
Yeah. So
you're looking at a social construct, and then you have to accept the fact that we really are a fucking experiment, and people don't want to have that conversation with themselves. So when the news comes on and says this person has a mental illness, it's so easy to just sit there and lap that up, because you don't have to have an honest conversation with yourself anymore.
Yeah.
I know in the circle we don't like to make race an issue, but it really is.
It is.
It really
an
is.
issue. Like,
And if you're not a black person and you're an ally of the black community, you're not a member of the black community, you're an ally of the black community, you see it for yourself too. And this is why you have people who are so willing to advocate for the black community who are not black. It doesn't take a black person to see it.
No.
It really doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
This is why I get upset when people equate the black plight to the gay plight. Subject.
Mm-hmm.
This is the gay subject.
Oh,
Boom, bye subject.
Boom, bye.
Do the homosexual community.
So, Rochelle,
you know what I mean?
Rochelle, big up yourself. Rochelle, the topic just said. Now, there's a song, you know reggae. If you know reggae.
Do we have comments on that before we say it?
Hold on. Gotta move on. Listen, no, here's a song. It says, boom, bye, batty boy, and finish it. Me not rest.
But you not promote them as the nasty man, them as
But now promote nasty man, them are dead. See? Now you're with your gay friend and that song comes on. Do you big up yourself? Or is it because your friend's gay, you don't say nothing? Now listen. I don't think it's ever been talked about. It maybe once. Annie, big up yourself.
There's a white gay
There's
guy.
gay
He's not
people.
gonna understand
There's
the
gay
words.
people everywhere. There's gay people here. There's gay people there.
No, I think people do pick it up. I think
I
dancehall
know
is
the
such that
song.
most people know the lyrics.
I know
of
the song, and I'm just learning today that means something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well,
I've heard
yeah,
this song so many times.
But if you're not familiar with the culture, you would know. It means if you're a batty boy, you're gonna get shot.
Right. So I'm.
But you had white non-dance hall subscribers. Take much to hop on Google and realize what that song means.
Yeah, if I actually
Like
look
the movement
at
that got Buju blacked out of all these, they didn't know dancehall. These were emo techno guys that one day they just hopped on the internet and was like, "What the fuck does boom bye bye?"
No, but the problem is what Michelle's saying is your friend's gay. That song comes on, and then you're still going, boop, 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 you know? Is that okay?
But that's the same thing as saying that you know that people are getting strangled in the streets for selling CDs and saying yeah, my one, just because people believe in street peddling. You don't subscribe to street peddling, but you see that somebody got strangled CDs, and you're gonna say yeah, man, strangle him. You know, I don't personally subscribe to a certain lifestyle teaching for my children, but I very much embrace friends who are of that lifestyle. When Boom Bye Bye comes on, am I gonna do gunshot in front of them? They know, my friends know who are of that persuasion know that that's not what I teach my children. But am I going to really brook out in a bogle in front of them? I might not. I might just stay silent, and that's just, I might just say. But by this time the song comes on, my friend already knows how I feel. My friend's already gonna know that.
That's your friend. You know what I mean? If that's your friend, and he's gay or she's gay or whatever, they show business.
The thing is, they have to know that if they're out, they're out. Just like if you have to, just like how your
But
kids
listen,
have to know
that's a big.
They're out.
Everybody, yo, you guys know that song, right? Boom, bye, bye, and a batty boy.
But then you have to know that certain songs were written before a certain level of acceptance. That's like the people who look out against interracial marriage. This was a problem before people had a certain level of understanding. So, I mean, if my friend's gonna tell me, yo, you're wrong for having ever liked that song, I'm gonna tell them, fuck you. Like, I have friends who are trans, like good friends who are trans. And I'm going to say, listen, you have to understand that the culture and the mentality that wrote this, because if you look at Buju today and you look at Buju 20 years ago, Buju would say, yo, you know what? I don't know if it was pressure to be able to visa, but Buju retracted a certain statement. A whole heap of them retracted their statements.
Of course it was.
However it was brought about, tolerance came about. Exactly.
So okay.
I hear that. I hear that.
So this is the point that I'm waiting for you to finish.
Now I'm done because I think my point is pretty clear. I tend to be long-winded.
So this is the thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe people who say that they're not going to sing along, because if you don't sing along, then you're not being true to you. Because
I think a lot of women like cars still.
Because if you're saying that the only reason you're not singing along is because your gay friend is there, then you're a hypocrite. Because if your gay friend wasn't there, you would be singing along. And for you to say that they should be okay and they should accept it because, you know, it was a different level of consciousness, no, bun that. Because there's still music right now, cultural music right now, like SZA has a few songs that start talking about Black supremacy. So am I gonna play that song and be like, you know, I'm gonna sing along and know that my white friend or my Indian friend is there?
But
you know
I don't think
what I mean?
you can equate
like,
the gay plight to the Black plight.
I'm not
really don't.
Listen, I'm not equating them. I'm saying that it's offensive to someone.
Yeah.
Right? It's not offensive to me because
So if I sing
I'm
along
listening
a song
to
that says nigga, I can't sing along.
That's what classic. Classic group just said that. She said, "Is it okay for you to say kill? You know, kill all the nigga them? Yeah."
But that's
If
the
it's in
point
the
that I'm
song, I'm
making
gonna sing
too.
it.
Like,
See, I wouldn't. I'd skip it.
it's
won't.
one or none. It's
Yeah.
all or none.
It's all or none.
What's in your music is in your vocabulary. What's in your vocabulary is in your
But
music.
then you're saying
I'm
that.
an
But then you're
ex-DJ.
saying that you can't.
No.
But if that's true, if this then that, if that's true, then what you're saying is because I
fucking
don't want a
song.
certain out. Because I personally understand why the opposite of what's being delivered
It's
as
like-
normal is important for my children. For example, I want my children to understand the beauty between the dynamics between a man and a woman. I want that for
I
them.
think music is art.
But if we're saying that, then what you guys are saying with this statement is that if I want my children to understand the beauty of a man and woman learning to relate and come together as one, then I'm saying that I don't agree with homosexuals altogether. I have to choose. Listen, for me, I want my children to understand the beauty and work out the magic of when a man and a woman come back to being one. But that doesn't mean that I can't accept or tolerate somebody that's not what they're on.
All of that
I
is
can
fine.
accept and tolerate somebody like that. That being said, but then for me, that's like there's other songs that Butcher sings that
Listen,
are pro-black.
this is a graphic song, okay? So let's
It's
not
very
skip over the
graphic.
fact that it's a
Two man a
graphic
kiss up
song.
and a hug up and a rub down leg.
And
Yeah.
let's not forget the sound effects. No, I get it. I get it, but I feel like a lot of people aren't looking at it in that depth. A lot of people are. I think when this question was posed, it was like, "Oh, the song says boom, bye, bye."
No,
And
okay.
I think that
If
the
we
way
go
I
to-
This is a graphic song that
If you
talks
go
about
to-
how we're going to kill
If
someone.
you go to a
Shot them
stand-up
dead.
comedian, you
I
go
said
to a
pit it
comedian
was the
show and
automatic
they
instead.
make racist jokes, gay people, black people all sit there and laugh, right?
But it's also, I think the lyrics of the song don't really mean anything because how many people like
You watch a
they're gonna go
movie-
Eminem, but you know how many people like Eminem and Stan? Who's going to put their pregnant girlfriend in the trunk of their car and drive over a bridge? Nobody. And just because you sing it doesn't mean that
You're
you're
gonna
pro.
be
getting
exactly.
your
It's
pregnant
like
girlfriend
watching
in
a
the trunk of
movie
the car.
that's full of killing and violence. You're not gonna go
I
do
think
it.
it's
But
people's
some people
choices.
are susceptible to that because there's a lot of people who don't have any sort of boundaries on their influence.
It's a movie.
Yeah, but I think
So
a lot of
you
people
know
need to
this,
take
then-
more
No,
responsibility
no.
for their actions too.
If you know this, then why are you not going to sing along when your gay friend is around?
See, I would
But-
sing along,
but
I would
You're
get-
not going to sing along when your gay friend's around, but you are going to sing along when they're not. Like, which is the
No, I
true
would
you?
just-
That's hypocritical.
I personally
That's
don't.
but that's what I'm saying.
That's
Which is the
hypocritical.
true
I
you.
personally
My
can't
nephew
relate
is
to the
gay,
lyrics, but
and I tell him all the time, my nephew's gay, and I'm like, well, I'm still gonna be me. I love you and all, but I'm still gonna be me. And if I say something that offends you, I'm sorry, but like, you know what I mean? It is what it is.
I just find there's this acceptance for gay women
And he laughs when I say
bisexual women
certain stuff.
that
It
gay
is for
men
men.
don't get.
Say that. Hold on. You hear
I
that,
agree
people?
with that.
Say that one more time.
I
One more
think,
time.
there's, I think there's an acceptance for gay women and bi women that, you know, trans don't get it. I
Yeah.
think that they,
No, you're right.
they get
Trans
this
are
shitty
way
end
more
of the stick.
accepted.
It's like
Trans
one
are
is
way more.
okay and we can all be all right with it because
I
it's
think that's
desirable
totally
and it's
agree.
freaky and it's pleasurable and it's
Actually,
whatever, but everything else
It's
is
funny you
like,
say that because like I used to like think it was okay to watch two lesbians, right?
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
then I thought about it deeply, and I'm like, I'm not okay to watch. I'm uncomfortable to watch two gay guys, right?
Mhm.
So that's very hypocritical of me. So
Mhm.
now I don't entertain that either.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. But then what you're doing is
But I don't
you're
hate
building a
people.
level of integrity to yourself.
So what about this? Right? You got to be an open mind, right? Now, me personally, right? Yo, Godson 6, no watch none, see? Listen, so I come from the Caribbean community, right? I come from the Buja Bantan, Bombay by Bati boy for them. When I met my wife, whose family is part of the LGBT community, big time, right? Because I love that woman, I had no choice but to accept it and embrace it.
Right.
So who am I to say that it's wrong or whatever?
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, for example,
I'm here to say it's wrong.
But why though?
it's wrong to
Because
do.
I
It's
like
not.
lesbians.
Get out of here.
Okay, so my friend who's trans, my friend who's now trans and is almost 50% there, spent several years as a gay man. I've never seen a more forsaken soul. Like, when I tell you the reason our friendship is what it is because when two people were like at the bottom of who they were, and like you and somebody just lock arms and decides that, yo, if you not let go, me not let go. When I tell you that's my homie, and sometimes I'm just like, I refer to him as him sometimes. Like, well, you don't know why I say him because I'm referring to
But
the
that's
person.
not my homie.
Wait, though, it may not be. But at the same time, he got a harder fight when he was gay than he does now as a trans.
Well, I had a harder fight when I was straight. So what does that mean?
What takes the weight off him?
Yo, don't mind this guy.
I have
Next.
no more wine.
Listen. So that being said, I do feel like the dialogue, just as much as the dialogue needs to open up on the race discussion, I really feel like the dialogue
we need to open up a little bit more
on the LGBT community, because I honestly saw this person I've been
watching BT my whole life.
I've never seen her more happy. And the funny thing is, now when I look at where she is from where she started, when I listen to Boom Bye Bye, while I can relate to it, a part of my heart breaks for when I remember what she went through when she thought she was gay. Do you know what I'm saying? Because
it's a transition.
I think
eventually, like,
it's a transition itself.
Transition and you get used to it, and then.
But whether you transition to gay, you transition back to being
but it's a transition
hetero.
for you too.
But it's and for that person, it's a transition to themselves. They're finding their way back to themselves, to who they feel comfortable with. So when I hear the song now, while I can relate to the song, I can't enjoy the song the way I used to. My relating to it does not mean that I support murder. But at the same time, when I hear it, I might relate. I might look back to my 17-year-old
I'll give you an example.
You know what I'm saying? I might relate.
I grew up watching Dukes of Hazzards, right?
Yeah.
And then I never knew that the Confederation flag, what it meant or what it stood for.
Yeah.
So when it first came out, I was like, fuck that. I'm still loving Dukes of Hazzards, man. I'm not going to change. But as I got more educated, it's like, okay, you know, like I'm not going to support it as much. So it's a transitional thing for you too. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It for me too. It was a transitional thing to, you know, like I'm actually disappointed that, you know, my childhood memory, something that I liked, is now something
that you
it's
realize
not good.
it's a lie.
It's a lie.
Yeah.
Like fuck.
What it sold you, what it was, is not what it really is.
No,
right.
I'm transitioning at the same time. I'm transitioning into having vagina into my life. A vagina is a big thing.
Only because he created this thing, he's allowed to talk to it.
So the next we finished with Boom Bye Bye. We talked about the Texas shooting, and now we just wanted to really just go over, you know, the housekeeping. We definitely have to talk about.
No, there was one more.
Sure. That's all I got.
No, it was about.
That's all I got from home.
Gay son, thug son. Was that?
The gay. So there was. We got one more thing, but you know what? You know, listen. If you're out there, right, in the circle community, and you're gay, and you're part of the LGBT community,
we love you.
We love you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Come out. Don't be afraid of these people. You know what I'm saying? If they come at you, come to me, and I'll deal with them.
Exactly.
Seeing we love everybody. You know, don't listen to all the talks in here and there.
And whether or not
People have all bark and no bite. Don't worry about it. So come on, we love you guys. You know what I'm saying? So just be a part of it. You know what I mean?
And I was just telling Lisa, whether or not you believe in that for yourself or not, at the time you tolerate and accept and support those who do, you are a part of that community. So it's either you decide that you're going to be accommodating or you're going to be
like me.
Non-accommodating.
Like me.
So, at the end of the day, the dialogue needs, just like how when you have Alcoholics Anonymous, you have AA for families. Sorry. Just like how when you have Alcoholics Anonymous, you have AA for the families. I think there needs to be.
Go ahead, talk up.
I'm really over it. There needs to be a dialogue. I'll wait.
I feel like Jamie's chair. I'm going with Jamie's chair.
Okay, talk up.
Are you done? I feel like there needs to be a dialogue for the people who are living with people in transition. And transition doesn't always mean you're transitioning from one gender to the other. It could be just be transitioning to acceptance. And if we're gonna look at this equation between the Black community and the gay community, there's definitely needs to be a dialogue around supporters of a community who may not necessarily be members of a community. And the supporters of the community may have a better voice based on their privilege. If our white supporters have privilege and they can use their voice in a certain way, then our heterosexual supporters of the LGBTQ, all the ever letters, we may have a better platform. And I'm still learning because, something like I said, I've never seen my friend more happy. Where I used to feel uncomfortable giving him a hug when he was a him. When I give him a hug now, I'm like, yo, but you're safe to me. You're not a threat to me. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, from the time you support, accept, or tolerate a member of a community that you're not a member of, you're part of that community. So if they don't have the voice, then you need to be the voice. So I think that, as much as one say they're not the same, they have a lot of similarities, and we could learn a lot between the comparison.
You just gotta have,
we could learn
as much as, you feel like your image tarnished, you want to be macho.
Of course.
You just gotta be, like, this world, man, is changing, so you gotta change with it.
With it.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying you gotta accept, but you just gotta change. You know what I mean?
Fuck them all.
I mean, bum. Listen,
you guys know that Tumpas doesn't mean that.
No,
you guys know
Tumpas
that.
is drunk.
He knows I mean that, and I mean it.
Okay.
No, he doesn't mean that. Don't listen to this guy.
Yes, listen to me. It's BT, motherfuckers.
There we go.
Yeah.
There, oh, this way? Wait.
Yeah, this is it.
There we go.
Oh, there we go. That's what I was looking for. Thank you, Gail. So the full correct acronym is LGBTQIP2SAA, and I believe that's lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans, queer. I know two-spirited, asexual. I forgot the rest, but thank you.
Queer was like a
no, it's different.
Queer is you weren't allowed to say that.
Queer is a personality. It's not.
What's the orientation to queer?
Queer and gay is the same. Queer and gay is like.
It's just.
I was saying queer.
It used to be used as like a derogatory.
So then you're
term.
pansexual if you're queer.
That was it. Pansexual. So
Pansexual.
lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans, queer. I forget the other one. I don't know the I, but it's pansexual, two-spirited, asexual, and I forget the last one.
All right, what's it all mean?
This dialogue needs to continue. This dialogue definitely needs to continue. So did we have any sort of administrative things?
Administrative this week?
The bus trip.
The bus trip. Listen, people. Next week, Wednesday, November the 15th. That's the last day.
That's it.
If you don't send any, if you don't hit up Lisa or Autumn Fairfax, that's it. You're not coming.
Bitch better have
So
that
please.
pay your money. Don't be
Please.
there. Listen,
And
we want to have fun with you.
It's
Like,
okay
I
that
just wanna
people
see
drive,
you.
but the
Yeah,
more
you-
people drive, the less people on the bus, and the less people
Turn
on
up.
the bus could mean there is no bus,
Exactly.
Don't we have a DJ
link
on the
up
bus?
in Niagara.
Yeah.
And if the bus don't reach, you guys are driving up there for no
If
reason.
there's
Yeah, if there's
link
no
up in
bus, I'm
Niagara,
not
why
going.
go?
I'm not
We
going.
dropped the price. We made it so that you guys can buddy up. You don't have to be dating the person who's your buddy anymore.
Come
It's
on the
only
bus, man.
$25.
$25.
You're gonna spend $25 in gas money anyway.
Yeah.
When you could just
Yo,
come on the bus. and
Cassandra's
turn
on the
up
bus,
with
people.
us.
Cassandra is on the bus. You guys
And
really want.
there's a pole
I
on the
heard
bus.
the
You're gonna
gods that were
dance on the
coming
pole.
on the bus.
The
Are the
gods
gods
are
on the
coming on the
bus?
The gods
bus.
are coming.
Okay, the gods are gonna be.
Alicia, big up yourselves on the bus. Tizzy,
Ayana.
Ayana. Yo.
Everybody who copped your ticket already.
Shout out.
People are asking how many seats are left. All right. This business of saying I'm coming and clicking the going on the event doesn't secure your seat. Your seat is not secure until you pay. So in terms of paid seats, there are 34 seats available. Okay, that's a lot. We are not going anywhere with that many seats available. We've sold a quarter of the bus, people. We need, if you're coming, for you to forward your $25. I'm not in a position where I cannot meet you. I am mobile. I can meet
And we have an East End meetup too, y'all. So if you're not electronic, yo, let's say you're in overdraft and you're in a cash only situation, guy. There's people you can meet, like straight up. We're not looking down on your situation. If you're in cash only situations, contact one of the admins. Dougie goes all the way to Oshawa. Don't you know?
Not anymore.
No, okay, but we got an East End connection.
Yeah, we got the East End. We got the West End. Whatever you need, man. You know what I mean?
Plus, I'm paying for everybody's shots on the bus too. So
yeah, free shots on Orla.
Shots on Orla.
Yeah.
And we got lots of prizes and giveaways too. So exactly. On that
this is a big thing. I know it's.
We got one free seat. I don't know how we're doing that.
It's already taken care of.
You all, whoever missed the women's night, the ladies' night get together. Living proof again that when circle people get together, it's only the blessed vibe people who come out.
Don't be scared, man. Like you come out as blessed.
If we see any problems,
there's no problem.
Never. It's always love.
You gotta remember, a lot of the confrontation that happens in the community is a fish. Like I said, it's a contained environment where people are only expressing themselves in one place. More time, like we go out, like. You know how many impromptu circle events happen that don't get posted as events? It's less. Like the things that make it as events are the things that are planned. There's so many things that just pop up and people just link up and run a boat and we're good. So, if that's your apprehension, you're on, like, we're good. It's not even about that. So, come out. What we want to do is see you in person where everybody can let their hair down from behind the keyboard.
Yeah. And I'm finally coming out. I missed every event up to now. This is my first one. I want to meet some people, man.
Because once January comes around, y'all.
Yeah, it's cold.
Listen. So we want to get together before them times. So
yes, please.
Do it.
I'm thinking I may have a treat for everybody.
And she has some treats. And wait, you're Jessica Dogs. You know what I'm saying? Jessica Dogs, big up herself. She got some treats. Those kind of treats. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
Real treats.
So guys, don't forget, if you have a specific situation you want to see covered, you may not feel comfortable to post it outright in the circle. Don't forget, you can still hit up any one of us in the DM. You can change the names of the characters in the situation if you want it posted. I think that was a couple of our pilot weeks. We had a few good runs of people sending.
Our first show. You remember the scandal?
Yeah, man. The scandal with
the first show was there was a woman in the group who was dating somebody who was twice her age. And he took care of her, and it was his choice to take care of her. But he has an erectile issue, and she did give him bun, like straight steady bun. And then she gave him bun like about 4 times. Was it 4 different people? Not necessarily 4 individual times, but with 4 different people.
And then
she started to feel guilty because now she's like, do I get a job and take care of myself?
Or do I just stay with this man and forever give him bun?
And forever give him bun? That was our first week. Who remembers that? 11 weeks, you know?
Like I will
11
never
people,
forget
11
the
weeks
inbox.
were there, check people business.
Yo, you know what? Yeah. Big up everybody for all the support. You know what I'm saying? Big up Moose. Big up
Shout out
Shamari,
Carmen.
Alicia B,
Oh.
Anthony Sweets, Danger P, I see you. You know what I'm saying? Cyril, I see you. Julia, I see you. Asha, what up? Hey, stay off of the countertop. Danielle, I see you. Cassandra, always. You know what I mean? Who else we got here? Steve, obviously. F Classic Ruby, big up. Krista Linton, big up. Hey, Jamal,
This is from
big up. I hate it.
I want to do the drum.
Young Boy, big up. Black
We have
Hugger,
voice
big up.
We got a
What's
few
the guy-
voice notes that got lost in the sauce,
Lola
guys.
Bunny.
So Alicia's is not a voice note, it's a
Okay.
written text.
Oh, you got to
We
read
got a
that?
few
And then
messages
I'm
that got
gonna do
lost in
the
the sauce.
draw
For what? For the
for
seed?
we had a giveaway.
Oh, we have to give away?
Didn't we?
No,
Yeah, we did the seed. We did the seed.
Yeah,
And
we
I
did
thought
the
we had
seed.
another giveaway for the.
No, give away. We'll give it on the bus. On the bus.
Yeah.
Because I have 5
for the person
giveaways.
who's watched.
The giveaway
Okay.
for what?
For the person who's watched every week.
Oh, I didn't know about that. Okay.
That was me.
Oh, hold on. We got more. Cody Braga, big up
oh.
yourself.
Sorry, guys. I'm getting a comment.
Maria. Marcia, sorry. Marcia. That's my
All
favorite.
right,
Marcia.
so I've got a comment from Alicia B, and I also have a second comment echoing the same sentiment. About sorry, we're going back a little bit, but just to close up that topic, because I don't feel like we got a lot of closure about why a lot of Jamaican people sing about the Batty Boyism. And I think that you have to actually put things in context, because the comment was stating that it has a lot to do with the transatlantic slave trade. I believe I mentioned this as well in the early days of the group, where the toughest slaves who couldn't be broken were brought to Jamaica, and Jamaica was specifically designed as a breaking camp. And when those men were not breakable, they emasculated them by sodomizing them. And that might have a lot to do with why in the reggae dancehall space you hear a lot of licking out against the Batimanism.
Well,
just like you hear a lot of licking out about Nyam and Pum Pum, because men were blindfolded and made to perform fellatio and oral sex on a female, only to, after they were blindfolded, uncover that it was your mother. So you hear, why go suck your mother? That's a curse.
You hear this,
To
people?
him, it's crushing his soul.
This
It's a
is where
curse.
suck your mother come from.
It's a curse, because
Wow.
from slave
I
times,
never knew that.
yeah, because all of the other smaller
Wow.
islands were the softer, broken slaves, and Jamaica is where you sent a lot of the slaves that you couldn't
That's
rock,
when they
and you had
sent the
to
most
beat them and beat
unruly
them.
slaves.
So
The
you
most
would-
unruly
you would
slaves.
have them-
Yo, ladies,
you would have
ladies,
them
leave God's
sodomized.
son alone.
You would
That's
have-
why we don't yam
No,
the
but some
pum-pum.
men don't believe in it for that reason, and you have to respect.
Ah,
But they were
okay.
a lot of the men who couldn't be broken, and it was usually chiefs, it was usually kings, it was usually tribe leaders, were sodomized in the open.
Buck breaking. It's called
Buck
buck
breaking.
breaking.
And I think I did a post on this. Where's Jonathan Shaw? Is it Jonathan Shaw or Joe Jonathan? We did a whole thing that I post. It's a Jonathan Jones. I posted the link them galore. But shout out to Alicia B and the other poster who requested to remain anonymous, is that this is a situation that if you don't understand the context, this is why I always say context is king. What do you mean? Where is this coming from? A lot of times, the reason why in the Caribbean culture the men lick out against that is because it was used to break them from their deity. You know what I mean? You have something that's used as a tool, then going forward for generations, they're going to be traumatized by it. It's like if I'm allergic to peanuts, and it doesn't matter if you had peanut butter or peanut cookies or you have peanut perfume, it resembles peanuts, I might break out in a sore because it's an allergy. You know what I mean? So
I was actually going to ask this week, why is it so offensive?
Yeah,
I was actually going to
about
ask
it
that.
before too.
Answer my question.
Yeah.
Well, now you know.
So if some of y'all are wondering why "suck your mother" is such a curse word, and why you might hear us say, "Yo, take that," or you might hear, "Batty boy for dead." I think the Batty boy for dead is coming from the fact that the person who was sodomizing you was in a position of power, and they were using that to emasculate you, and it wasn't something that you experienced in your culture prior to arriving here. So once you arrive on this soil, you're all of a sudden seeing that Batimanism is being used to subdue you. You might say Batiman for dead, not because you necessarily know that Batiman. Maybe if you were over back in the European, or the Caucasus Caves, you might see that it's normal over there. You'd be like, all right, that's what y'all do, that's what I do. But because it was used as a tool to break you now are saying Bati boy for dead.
Yes, sir.
So that might be a piece of context that you could receive to maybe better help you understand some of what shaped a lot of that. But again, as Jason said, we're in 2017. Times are changing. We have to learn to accept. The same way we don't want to be choked out in the street just for being melanated is the same way we may have to learn how to tolerate and accept those.
She's right. She's right. You have to get choked out for any fucking thing. And I'm the guy to choke your fucking ass off. Yeah.
Sorry, guys, I didn't lock the liquor cabinet.
Yeah. I forgot to lock the liquor cabinet today, guys. Sorry, my bad.
Liquor's
Anyways, yo, circle people, bless up.
Where's Bianca's outro?
Thank you. You know what I mean? Keep coming out. You know what I mean? Keep going. The posts keep coming. I love all the topics and I love all of y'all. You know what I mean? We every what has it been? This has been like 8 months now, right? 8 or 7?
7. No, it's 8 months. Is it 8? There are members who, when you look at their member longevity, they were added 8 months ago.
Yeah, man, we've come a long way. A long way. A long way.
Came a long way. You all can get choked the fuck out.
7 still.
Yeah.
I think we're still on 7.
Yeah, it could be 7.
We've come a long way, and like, I don't even remember what I was doing before this. I don't. So.
I do.
Make sure that if you've been watching since week 1,
I had a girlfriend.
Make sure that if you've been watching since week 1 that you leave a comment on this, because I am doing a giveaway for one person who's been watching Top the Tingz since week 1.
Yeah.
So on the bus, because I'm determined we are doing this bus trip, on the bus, I am going to give away one thing. And whoever gets this giveaway, you're going to love it.
Yeah, because everyone's in a bus when we're on the bus.
I don't go soft.
Yeah.
It's going to be
And
something
big up the Freaky Friday. We love it.
He said big up Freaky Friday. Okay.
Freaky
Friday turn up on it head.
It's upside down.
I don't know what
head
happened. But yes, circle people were there. Boy, yes, Freaky Friday.
I love my Fridays.
Tomorrow, me love my
body. So for the new people out there, if you don't know, 9:00 p.m. tomorrow, tune into the circle. I can't tell you, because people are watching, Granny may be watching, Auntie, I can't tell you, but come in the circle 9 p.m. tomorrow.
Make sure you log off other people them come at your work, okay?
Make sure you log
off.
And guys, try not to screenshot anything.
Yeah, don't screenshot. Don't do that shit, man.
That's whack.
That's
whack.
All right.
The idea is to upgrade the photos every week, yeah?
Yeah, man.
So we have screenshots from.
HD.
You're going to get upgrade
1080p.
next Friday. Every Friday, upgrade.
We want to hear plaka.
All right, people. We got to call it a night. So, you know what I mean? Thank you. Please come back again next week. By the end of the night tonight, this video will be uploaded on YouTube, and I'll paste the link in the group, and you can watch it for full if you missed it. You know what I mean? I love all of y'all. Thank you for being in the circle. I love you. This is Big J right here. We got Orla. You know what I mean? We got Lisa Thompson, TK, Dougie Moore, and this. I don't know. I don't even know who that is. Don't worry about it.
My name is Lee.
The circle people, we love you. And listen, on the outro right now, I'm gonna play. We got Bianca Star Status. No, I didn't play Star Status. The girl
That's her name.
Oh, Bianca Clark is called Star Status. There's a song called Girl Like Me, and that's what we're gonna play out.
I snap now, so I know that. Before I snapped, I didn't know.
I use a snap.
I'm gonna snap. Bianca, thank you for the big up yourself. You guys take him down.
And don't forget to send in your music for next week.
You want a girl who done around, but you got one here looking in your eye, boy.
I want this in my car.
Summertime?
I want some summertime song.
why you can watch my pretty ass walk by.
Bianca, I want to mix it for my car in the summertime.
I ain't got time for your little boy games.
And I'll buy the CD, okay? I'll support the car.
Send me a check up on my ass on the plane. Give me something different if you get in
Where's
this
my
train.
I'll make it up.
Yo, where's my jeans?
Like me, your girl that's fat, but your girl like me, your girl like me, your girl like me. You can't get enough, 'cause I get it, baby. Said I get it, baby. Said I get it, baby. So a girl, me, you lie. You said you need a girl, me, try. A girl like me, six steady in front. Me in the club, I leave her in the blood. Girl like me, who ride? Baby said he wanna ride or die, but I ain't tryna ride. I just wanna fly, watch the money pile high. Here's a quick tip, I don't do no mediocre. You gotta put it down, man, even when you sober. I got that bomb, make you sing that thong song. Got the ass cheek shaking like they can't get along. And you can't stop your eyes from looking all around. Got you thinking about a lie, 'cause you know I put it down. I'm a queen to a king, don't you love my melanin? I got my guard up, need a key to get in. I got a couple rules and I hope you listen in. I don't need a little boy, I need a bigger man. Got time for your little boy games. The name star status, put respect on my name. Send me a check up on my ass on a plane. I need something different if you getting on this train. So what you want? A girl like me, like me, like me. But what you gonna do with a girl like me, like me, like me? Your girl that's fat, but your girl like me, your girl like me, your girl like me. You can't get enough, 'cause I get it, baby. Said I get it, baby. Said I get it, baby. Ready for a girl like me, you lie. You said you need a girl like me, you'll try. A girl like me, stay steady in the front. Henny in the cup, I leave rolling up the blunt. Girl like me, you'll ride.
If Tempest can do it, why can't I?
For a girl like me, turn up. Said you need a girl like me.